Do you know if supplements are truly working for you? Today, we'll dive into smarter supplementation with Arman Eckelbarger, uncovering how to fuel your energy, performance, and well-being. Welcome to WellWaveNOW, your portal for actionable wellness insights. Meet your empowerment team. First, there's Breck Rice, the healthcare disruptor, decoder of medication complexities, and a community and integrative wellness expert. Joining us also is Dr. Bob Levine, renowned brain researcher and national leader in drug-free pain elimination. I'm Tim Daniels, a wellness plan manager, builder of personalized wellness approaches as unique as you are to optimize your wellness with an expertise in pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. Together, we are your wellness catalysts, committed to elevating your health, enhancing your functionality, and optimizing your performance at every life stage. Our objective is to provide you with innovative strategies to boost your happiness and unlock your body's full health potential. WellWaveNOW, where timeless wisdom lights your wellness path. To help us unlock the keys to effective supplementation, again, welcome Arman Eckelbarger. It's my pleasure to bring him here with us. As a wellness thought leader, certified longevity coach, certified personal trainer, and an IFBB pro bodybuilder with over 40 years of experience, which has equipped him with the wisdom to create personalized supplementation implementation plans to help everyone and people optimize their health.
Yeah, welcome. It's great to have you here. I'm on it. Not every day that we have a professional bodybuilder with us, so it's great to have you on, and it's been good to get to know you over, guess what, a year and a half, 2 years now.
Yeah.
I don't have anywhere near the pictures that he has, and I wouldn't put them up on the internet anyway. But it's great to have you here.
Are we going to get him to take his shirt off? I don't know. I've seen his physique. It is incredible. I just got to tell you that.
This is a family show. We don't want to.
Arman, you deserve accolades for the physical structure you've developed over the years. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of hard work, so I'll take it.
Good deal. Yeah. So, and what's really interesting with this is not even what we had talked about or planned on talking about, but you've always been into fitness and stuff, but you didn't really go pro until really quite later on in life, right? Because until they really got clean with how you went with building mass, right?
Well, the reason for that was I started bodybuilding at 22 years of age or whatever, but coming up through the ranks, I was getting second and third in the shows, but the requirement is you need to take drugs, and that just wasn't in my I wasn't going to do that. So later on, I was suggested again to start considering competing at the age of 55, and that was mostly because I guess things had changed in the competition world. I hadn't really been paying attention. I was just working with people and doing my usual thing, but also doing my training. I just like training and see what I could do personally and keeping what I had and reshaping. But then I looked at the competition, the people that were winning 50 and over, and I looked at what it takes to get a pro card, and I said, well, I think I could do that, and then took a couple of years and figured it out. So
yeah, that's great. That's great. So yeah, I love the fact that you didn't want to be involved when people were basically juicing and taking medication.
Most of them are dead.
Yeah, most of those people are not still around.
They died in the 40s and 50s with what they were doing. It's I saw that coming. I'm not going to do that. That's not what I'm all about. So anyways.
Yeah. Well, that goes right into our topic today with, the common practice that most people follow with their supplementation, right? This is kind of the standard is you take a supplementation just in case. So you take a daily, multivitamin, or you do something else just in case, but there's not really any real science behind that. And so we wanted to get into, the more appropriate way to approach supplementing. And we realize that, even if we eat well, we try to do what's right, have a good diet, we just don't get all of the nutrition we used to get. If we look back 50, even 30 years ago, the soil has just been so depleted from all the nutrients. It's pretty hard to get everything you need, all your minerals and all of the vitamins that you would normally get. And so we look at now taking certain supplements to try to counteract the poor food quality, not to mention anything that goes through the processing, right? So Arman, many people have taken the supplements and they're practicing that just in case mentality. And so for a more personalized approach to supplementation, pretty important. What are the risks if somebody is just doing just in case and just taking a supplement?
Well, there's just a lot of unknowns, period, because first of all, you got to understand, what you're taking, why you're taking it, have you done any research on it? Is it necessary? Also, where's it coming from? What's the source of it? So there's a lot of moving parts. Now, there are benefits with supplementation, especially if it's done properly. And that's what I had to figure out over a long period of time because, 40 years ago, it was all a guessing game then. And in a lot of cases, it's still a guessing game now if you don't do your homework. So if you have something you're trying to fix or improve or want to do better at, then you need to do homework or get with somebody that's done the homework and help you to understand, okay, what's the basic steps? And then also what's the way you can target it? So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to it.
Yeah. Well, let's talk more about that. How would someone personalize that supplement approach? What would you do?
Well, the good news today is that the science is much more improved and the supplements are actually much more improved and manufactured. And so there's pluses, but you still got to sort through because there's money to be made and everybody has an angle. So the approach that I take that seems to work well for me is having lab work done, okay, because you want to look what's underneath the hood. And then a DNA methylation test is really ideal because that helps you understand what targeted nutrition you need based on the mutations you inherited from your parents. So you had your mom and dad, and each give you a different mutation, and sometimes they're combined depending on what shows up in that test. But that's a one-time test, so that's the beauty of that. So once it's done, you can always refer back to it and look at what you may be lacking. But if you get the right raw materials into your body through supplementation and it's targeted properly, you're going to function at a high level. I can attest to it. But at the same time, you can waste a lot of money. So you have to understand what you're doing. So
yeah, I know in pharmacy we have a pharmacogenomics test to kind of understand what patients can metabolize. Dr. Bob, you've got a little bit of experience with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's really important because to know what your body is going to do with a particular supplement or pharmaceutical that you're going to take in, because everybody's metabolic profile is different. And so some people are fast metabolizers, and that means that they take in a compound and they transform it quickly. They either break it down to something inactive or they break it down to something that's active, and it depends. And then other people are slower metabolizers, so they may be such a slow metabolizer they don't even get an active compound from it. So there's a lot of variability in the population. Arman, I'm sure you can explain a lot about this. I know you're a firm believer in genetic testing and blood work, so that you can tailor supplementation to an individual's needs. How about if you explain a little bit more about this process and the advantages of this approach when people are trying to optimize their health?
Okay, let me just give you an example, though, with what you're talking about regarding how people absorb. Some people have a low tolerance to caffeine and some people have a high tolerance to caffeine, as an example. And so that's another thing you need to understand. And that's why supplementation needs to be targeted with the right dosage levels. And sometimes you're not going to get enough. And so that's where testing, especially lab work, can help you determine, hey, what's my performance? So one simple example in lab work would be your vitamin D level. If you get that checked, and if it's really low, then yeah, you're going to need a higher dose to get you up to where you need to be. But if it's in a normal range, then you just may need to supplement a little bit. But that's why you need a medical professional to give you the suggested dosage to help improve and make it better. Because vitamin D is very critical for the immune system. It's critical for a lot of bodily processes. It's actually a hormone, so it helps you also make a lot of hormones. So if you don't have a good amount of it, you're going to have issues, and they found that out through COVID as well. So as an example.
Can you say something about what the typical testing is and what that involves so people can understand that and what they can expect from, doing these tests?
Yeah. So I like to do two types of tests. The lab work test is just a very comprehensive test to see what's underneath the hood. So what's your liver function, your kidney function, and I'm not a medical professional. So let me just say I'm not giving medical advice, but I have different medical teams that help with the interpretation of what's out of sync in your lab work. And that's where the nutrition can come in and the supplementation can come in to fix different imbalances that are showing up, whether it's in hormones, whether it's in liver function, et cetera. So, but you need that data, and that data gives you a good baseline. So lab work, as you periodically have it checked, is good to have and refer back to, because you can see how maybe your liver enzymes are out of sync and they're too high, which can affect your mitochondria and can give you other medical problems, which, that affects your energy if your mitochondria is not functioning well. So if you get your liver enzymes under control, then things start to perform better. You have better energy. But you need to check the alanine transaminase as an example to understand, okay, I have too much sugar and carbohydrates in my diet. I need to adjust that. But also I need to take some supplementation to help clear the liver. There's milk thistle's another one that can help do that. So there's a lot of things you can do. And then the DNA methylation testing, once you have that, that's a one-time thing. So once you get the data on what you need to do to make sure you're functioning at a high level, it's very helpful. So, I can go into examples if you're wanting. Yeah, go ahead.
So aside from the DNA methylation test, are these the standard set of tests that your PCP often orders on a yearly basis, or are you doing something broader and different than that?
Well, I do a broad spectrum because I'm looking to help the whole system. But most stuff you're going to get from medical office is going to be a metabolic panel or cell blood count, some real fundamental stuff. Then maybe they'll add in an A1C. They're just checking for cholesterol, which they love to check for, and other things. So you have to request vitamin D most of the time. You have to request these other tests if you want to learn more about what's going on under the hood, especially hormones, because nutrition supplementation is important for hormone stability, and people don't know that. And that's another reason why I check all these different things. Like ApoB, the apolipoprotein, that's a more of a better gauge on cholesterol really being an issue versus just looking at simply LDL. There's a lot of debate on, does LDL really need to be the one you base any kind of a statin drug on? And everything I'm reading is no, you need to dig a little deeper before you could take that step. Anyway, so does that kind of help? Or
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Arman, I just want to make sure. So you take private clients, you see people, you help them figuring out what they need to take. So, and we're going to give everybody the information on how to reach you. I just wanted to make sure that our listeners are aware that you're available, because this is really important. I mean, people are taking all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's probably 90% of the population is probably on some kind of pharmaceutical. They're trying to take supplements at the same time. They need help. So we'll get everybody the information. I just want to let people know right off the bat that you're available to help them. The other thing is some people just don't want to get tested for anything, right?
Well, it's expensive. It's not necessarily cheap. Like, my lab work panel is $500. That's what it costs to me. Now, if you wanted to buy it on your own, you're looking at $800 or more dollars. So
how many times do you have to do that though?
Well, that's a good question. So if you get this comprehensive panel done, typically once a year is going to be good, because all you're going to do additional lab work for is what's out of sync to see if it's improving. So you get more targeted with it, but you got to have, because everything's interrelated. So you want to have a good baseline on all the things you can, then go back and just refine what's not where it needs to be. So it could get cheaper at that point. Yeah.
So people have the opportunity to get a full panel done for that cost, and that's good for a year. And the best thing about that is, as they make adjustments to their intake of supplementation, they're going to be able to feel if it's making a difference or not. And they're likely to feel it's going to make a big difference because they're going to make all kinds of appropriate adjustments, right? So then, I mean, that kind of cost for once a year adjustment, I think it's a phenomenal situation for people to get. So that's just my opinion, though.
Well, as you're older, I highly recommend that. As you're younger, you have a little more liberalism on it. But if you're older, you need to be checking your hormones as a main element, because it's the hormones, the message to tell your body how to function, and you need nutrition to help fix them. Okay, along with some exercise. But if you're just going to guess, like there's guys that take DHEA, they're just guessing on how much they're taking. And they don't understand, if you take too much DHEA, you just shut down the body's mechanism of making it. Where's the benefit? Now you have to be focused on taking it all the time because your body doesn't want to make it the right way. You start making things more complicated when you're guessing. So, and you need to have a medical professional to interpret what the corrective protocol needs to be instead of guessing.
And you provide that resource for people, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. I got to have, I don't want to be guessing.
I want to step back for a second, Arman. Then we got right before we go to our break here. And he mentioned DHEA, and I know there are a lot of people taking it. Has actually been recommended to me. But I think we've got a wide spectrum of audience here. I'm not sure that everyone knows the thought process and the urging that comes, why people are being urged to take DHEA. Can you talk a little bit about that and your thinking on whether or not to take it based upon? But I agree with you, because what I had said before, I said, look, before I do any of this, I decided not to do it. I went out and got tested for the level of DHEA and then looked at some sources. But still, I think people need to understand, what is DHEA, what is all the raving about it, and what's your thinking on it?
Well, DHEA is dehydroepiandrosterone, so it can help with making hormones. But what people don't realize is pregnenolone is a more prevalent hormone that needs to be, supplement needs to be taken before DHEA, because it helps to manufacture all the hormones and helps make DHEA. But people it's not even on their radar. pregnenolone. You can look that up. But with DHEA, it helps to make testosterone. So it comes off the adrenal glands. And so it's just a component to make sure you're making as much as you would like to make. But if you over supplement, you'll get, if you take too much, it will affect you a little bit brain-wise. Okay. But it's hard. A lot of people don't really notice there's another thing with any supplement you take that we'll be talking about is the placebo effect. So there's another element to all this that is also very active, and it's real. It's not like it's made up. I mean, placebo effect has an effect. So, but yeah, with DHEA, it's getting recommended for males, especially to help with testosterone production, hormone production. But it will raise your estrogen, which isn't necessarily the right thing you need either if you take too much of it. So that's another thing that people have no idea about, don't even think about. So that's why you need to make sure it's targeted properly.
I went through some testing here last winter and fall that was really insightful to the blood work and what I need to do. So that is very helpful. But as we were articulating, and certainly that $500 is a beautiful investment in one's optimal wellness and longevity and health and vibrancy. But as you know, not everybody wants to invest that much. Not everyone wants to take the time, or they don't want to do anything aside from what they can get from their primary care physician. So in those instances, Arman, and to be, we always like to be as helpful to a broad section of the people who engage with us as possible. Share some thoughts on basic things that are fundamental things that you think everyone should be. And I hesitate, I hate that everyone phrase, that you think that a majority of the population would benefit from doing for basic supplementation.
Well, so the first obvious one is a quality multivitamin mineral supplement, because you flush minerals daily. You also flush your vitamins daily. And if most people, I love it when somebody says, well, if you just eat right, you don't need them. Okay, well, I don't know how many people are eating right. I mean, I haven't ran anybody yet who's eating right. So you need to have an understanding, well, what does that mean? So if you want to, here's the thing, most people don't get the B complex vitamins that they need. And so you need to make sure there's a good amount of B complex vitamins, because you need these cofactors to help with processing enzymes and other things to get the raw materials into your system. And so I recommend a multivitamin mineral, and I recommend it being methylated. So I don't recommend folic acid being in a multivitamin mineral because it doesn't convert to folate like you're led to believe. And that's a whole nother discussion. But a DNA methylation test basically will tell you if you have the MTHFR gene, which affects your ability to methylate food, folic acid does not convert based on that. And besides that, it's a low conversion. So get a multivitamin, and you want a good, you don't want just the RDA. The RDA is just to keep from having a problem. You need to have more than that. So I like a 2 per day multivitamin that I use with Life Extension as an example, because it's very potent, and it also has iodine in it to help your thyroid. It has other ingredients in it that a lot of the other manufacturers don't make, and it has methylated folate, so it doesn't have folic acid in it. So it's going to absorb, and you will notice a difference. So on that,
explain that process of methylation, because we want to make sure everybody understands that. And by the way, I get 3 or 4 offers a day from manufacturers wanting me to promote their supplements or their products, and I now push back and ask about their process. Is it, do you have a methylation process? So explain that.
Well, methylation just means how you're converting the raw materials you're taking in to be able to use them in your system. And so you have all these processes your body takes. So when it's already methylated, it's going to absorb a lot easier than have to be converted. The problem is when it's like taking oil and converting it to gasoline. You can't take oil and put it in a gas tank. You got to refine it and make it so it can work. Methylation is a similar process. It's just it's what the body uses, and it's very effective. But if you keep giving it the wrong stuff, it'll do what it can, but that's just going to over time create issues. So that's why people aren't as healthy as they would be and don't have the energy that they could have, because they're missing out on these. And people be shocked how much better they would feel if they got the right raw materials in the system. The engine runs really well. So you want high octane fuel to get high octane performance.
Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned something, thanks, Greg. You mentioned something earlier there that I want to go back to for a second, Arman, because you and I were having, and with Dr. Bob and Breck were having this discussion, previously, where you and I take that same multivitamin, but I said, look, it gives so much in it that I just take one of it because I've exceeded my RDA in one, and you counseled against that, and you just mentioned that again. So what do you think the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, is good for, and why do you think the average person could and should vary off of that?
Well, the RDA is just basically the bare minimum to not have a problem. That's all. That's all it's saying. You need to get at least this to not create a problem.
Mhm.
So, but supplementation, it's not about not creating a problem. It's about thriving and getting the right, whatever your body takes in it doesn't need, it will clear it out. Okay. So these things will clear out. And that's why if you're doing well nutritionally, your urine will color up a little bit, depending if you're taking in, too much. And that's basically vitamin B, different vitamin B vitamins, which are yellow in nature, they're flushing through, pretty common. So that's my thoughts on it. I mean, if you're not very active, then, who knows what the demands really are. I'm a very active person. The people I work with are very active. They're high stress individuals. They're running companies, they got a lot going on. So their energy demands are high, whether you're an athlete or, corporate professional, you got a lot of stress going on. You got a lot of things you got to get done. So you want to make sure you got your game plan as good as possible. In mind, it's my take on it.
Absolutely. Okay. So, so thanks for that talk and those thoughts on that amount, and as well as to, the personalization. One of the keys as to, in addition to know what you're taking, you talk about the methylization, is just important to understand the quality of the supplements. So I want to move into how you can evaluate that supplement quality. And I think Bob had a question for you in that regard.
Well, I think, Tim, you probably asked it. I'm just going to reiterate. There's so many supplements on the market. I mean, you go to the supplement store, it's just crazy. You go online, see some different types of everything. So, what should people be looking for in general in an ingredient list? And how does somebody know if a supplement's any good or not?
Well, that's still pretty tough because marketing is good. Look what marketing can do. They deceive people all day long, but you have to do your research. I've tried a lot of different companies, and I looked at what their ingredients are and how they make them and things like that. And you just, at the end of the day, you go with what you know, and then you try it and then see if you do notice anything. Again, that's where the placebo effect can come in. But one of the things I like to see is, are they third-party tested? If it's third-party tested, I feel better about it. That doesn't mean it's, anybody can say they're third-party tested. So you have to scrutinize this whole thing, which is what I do. I mean, I get hit all day long with companies. Hey, what do you think? Would you like to sell this product? We have an answer for you to do this. I'm like, okay, let me see what's in it. And I start reading the ingredients and I'm like, I'm out. So things you want to look for would be magnesium stearate. People don't know anything about that. Okay, magnesium stearate is what they use to coat the machines with, which is good for the machines, but it's not good for you because it builds up in your system. So what you want to look for, do they use vegetable stearate? Not magnesium stearate, vegetable stearate. Okay, now it'll be called vegetable magnesium stearate, but the point of the matter is it's safer because it clears out your system.
Yeah, I know for the medication side, we have things that have to go through approval through the FDA. For supplements, though, is there any certification or standardization that you could look at and say that, okay, it passes this certification?
Well, a lot of them like to brag on that. So you got GMP, which is basically, good manufacturing practices. You have the USP, which, pharmacopoeia, and then you have NSF. So there's different certification, different things that are put on the labels. And you have to do your homework on it to decide, okay, this looks like a pretty sound product. But one thing I don't like is when the ingredients say a proprietary blend. That means they don't have to disclose what's in that proprietary blend. I don't like that. So I don't mess with products that tout the proprietary blend.
Yeah, why wouldn't the manufacturer just get a patent on that proprietary blend and then just explain what it is?
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
say, hey, it's a proprietary blend. We're not letting that be known because we don't want the competition to know. It's like, well, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that's the advantage of people coming to work with you, though, is because you can advise them on all these things. There's so many variables. I don't know how the average person can manage it. So,
well, I'm a big fan. All that through trial and error. Everything that I recommend to a client, I've already tried it myself. So, they call me placebo man as well, as many things that I tried. But at the end of the day, I give them my honest opinion. Well, I tried it, I took it, I didn't really notice anything.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it doesn't work. So that's where lab work can come in, especially if it's a targeted thing to improve a particular area, say DHEA. Well, DHEA can be measured. It's called DHEA sulfate in your lab work. And then if you're taking enough of it, it'll show elevating into your blood, your level. So that means, okay, I'm taking enough. Or if it's too high, you need to cut back the dosage, as an example.
Does the time of day have anything to do with it too? So the certain vitamin do better later in the day versus earlier in the day? Or?
Well, again, it depends on what you're using. Okay. But most of the time, that's kind of a wide open conversation. Now, vitamins, what people need to understand about vitamins as an example, which they don't realize, do not take them on an empty stomach. You're wasting your money and you're going to get stomach problems. Okay? You need to take them after you eat a meal. That way it gets absorbed in there. Don't take them before the meal. Take them after you eat the meal. This is one simple example. Vitamin D, you need to take it with fat. It's a fat soluble vitamin. It will not absorb if you don't take some fat in. And the same thing with the vitamin A and E. These fat soluble vitamins, you need to have a little bit of fat in the digestive system to help them absorb. Otherwise, they're not going to absorb and you're wasting, again, your money. But people don't realize this. Fish oil. You need to refrigerate fish oil once you open it, because once you open it, it's going to start to oxidize immediately. And then you're not going to have the potency of the fish oil. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things that, I got to educate people on when they get their shipment in, like, okay, do this, this, and this. Timing during the day. A lot of times you can, like the 2 per day vitamin, you can take 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening, as an example, to split that up. So there's a lot of ways to work it. It just depends on, do you have a gut issue? If you have a gut issue, then we need to dig a little bit deeper about how you should take things, what medications you're on. Some of these supplements can contraindicate the medication. And so that needs to be researched. So, in other words, if somebody's on a GLP-1, like Mounjaro or Ozempic, and then they take berberine because it helps with glucose control, that's going to be a counterproductive situation and could create a problem. I mean, there's all kinds of things that could pop up.
That is true. There's so many drug interactions, drug supplement interactions, and drug supplement interactions are not really exhaustively covered at all. I mean,
I don't know anyone that really does a study on that, right?
Yeah, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll give you one little tip that people don't realize is if you get your homocysteine level, which is what I check, this is a measure of inflammation. It leads to high blood pressure. So if your homocysteine is over 10, you should take a B complex to help lower it and control it, because what this does, it thickens the blood. But also what you're really missing is trimethylglycine, which you need the right amount of dosage of it to take, because it's a methyl donor that allows you to process your amino acids. Okay, so trimethylglycine will actually help lower your blood pressure if you have high homocysteine level along with the B complex. But the medical community doesn't recognize any of this stuff because it's not in their vocabulary. It's mostly just a prescription. But people have come off medication because of that one simple trick.
So I'm not sure that you can even answer this question, Arman, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Because people are taking multiple supplements too, 5, 10 supplements. So is there any way to know if that's going to be okay for somebody? I mean,
we got to read the ingredients. You got to know how much is in it. Most of the time, it's not going to be a problem. But at the same time, if you're on medications, you've got to understand what medication it is and then what contraindicates that medication. So you got to look up, okay. And I'm sure that, Bryce has been through this, or Breck has been through this before, that you need to, if you're taking supplements, run it by your pharmacist, because it'll happen.
So the pharmacists are a great source of information. I think they really
they're real handy. I mean, I do it all the time if I have a question, because they know better than a doctor, in my opinion. But
and it goes both ways, right? They may be prescribed a medication that is going to leach something out of their system, and so now they need to take a supplement to make up for that.
That's true.
Prescription med is doing.
Well, that's like statins affect your CoQ10, which is extremely important for your heart health, and your body makes CoQ10, but the statin's depleted, then you need to supplement CoQ10. Now, the argument is on CoQ10, how well does it actually absorb in the supplement form? So there's arguments going in on that part of it too. So I take CoQ10 because it's also good for your mitochondria. I take a higher dose, and I feel it works for me. But again, that's just my thoughts on it based on the research I've done.
Yeah. So, Arman, you've talked about quite a bit there. You covered quite a bit in this session. And, from how do you interact with the GLP-1s to the homocysteine levels for inflammation, that kind of rolls into, a lot of people, in addition to their base level of supplementation, they're trying to achieve specific goals, such as you see the advertisements on TV and about now when you hit a certain age, you ought to be doing supplementing for cognitive function. He's saying, both of us work with a lot of athletes and retired athletes, and you've got 2 other ones here on the line here with you. And so that gets into joint health or boosting for performance. What do you think these specific targets can be achieved? How does it play into your test? And then how do you bring it all together as a part of your testing that you do with that? How do you work to tailor these things for people's personal health goals? And should they be tailoring them for some of these things?
Well, there's two factors that help determine if you're making progress. Okay, how you feel. That's always a great factor. Okay, but also you need sleep as part of that as well, because you got to give the body time to absorb and do its work and its corrective processes and all that. And then when you can test it and check it, that's your backup. Hey, how am I doing? And again, you just need to test the things that you're wanting to measure. There's all kinds of lab work that you can do. So that can vary depending on what the goal is. For somebody who has joint issues, my go-to, let me just go with this. Brain function is going to be fish oil. Fish oil is second to none for brain function. You need to eat, the DHA and EPA. You need those around 2 grams. If you eat fish twice a week, probably not a big deal, but most people aren't eating fish twice a week. So you need to be taking 2 grams a day if you want to keep it ideal. And it's also good for reducing inflammation. And also what fish oil does, it makes the cell wall soft, supple, and sticky. And what that does, it helps reduce glycation, which makes it firmer, which is proteins and sugars get tangled up. So when it's soft and supple and sticky, the hormones can attach and get down into the cell and do their work. And that's what you need. So it helps to thin the blood, reduce inflammation, and get more utilization from from your supplements and your nutrition. And then for joint health, boswellia root and krill oil to me are my go-to. MSM and chondroitin are fine, but I've seen much better results personally for myself by just using those two solutions. You don't need OD on them, so you can just do the recommended dosage, but they're very effective. You had a question?
I was just saying, what were those 2 things for the joints again?
Boswellia root and then krill oil. Krill is Krill. It has a property called xanthine in it, which for whatever reason goes to the joints and helps reduce inflammation. Very effective. Anything now beyond that, I would go into a peptide like BPC 157 if you have a serious joint issue. But you'll get a great amount of result just from those 2 components. Then you want to throw in chondroitin and MSM, you can. I'm just not as impressed with those products. So
yeah, you didn't like my collagen 1, 2, and 3 that I was taking with it.
Well, so I'm trying all kinds of things. I did some research on collagen, and collagen is not a complete protein, and they have different chicken collagen, marine collagen, etc. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's protein, but it's not a complete protein. So if you just focus on complete protein and get all the essential amino acids, which there's 8 of them, if you get those, you don't really need collagen. Your body's making what it needs to make to maintain collagen levels. But it's a great selling tool and it's very expensive. So, it's up to the person. I'm not doing collagen. My wife, she does collagen. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to win that argument, But,
well, I do collagen and I find it quite helpful for, hair, nails, and the skin. And so anyway, I think everybody's different, So it's just, you really got to go with how you feel about things, And you can try something.
Again, I want to say if you focus on your protein intake, it may be the same effect. But eating a lot of protein is not necessarily easy. And then the different types of protein. So, there's arguments for it. I get it. It's like essential amino acids versus branched chain amino acids. Branched chain amino acids, in my opinion, are worthless. And they can cause insulin resistance. So why are all these people taking it?
Right.
All you're looking to get out of a branched chain amino acid is the leucine, which initiates protein synthesis and stops muscle breakdown. So I do leucine after I get done training to stop muscle breakdown further and to initiate protein synthesis. But I have to have some protein with about 30 to 45 minutes. That's a nutrient timing issue there to maximize the return on recovery. That's my take on it. That's my experience with it.
That's a very key statement, I think, that you just made on the BCAAs, that people should pay attention to and research and validate, because that has been, I haven't looked at it myself in a couple of years now, but that was the rave for many, many years, especially when it came into the bodybuilding and recovery from workout, is you need to have these BCAAs. And you've just said that they're worthless.
Just take the essential amino acids. Now they're more expensive. BCAAs are dirt cheap. You can find that stuff anywhere, okay? And you can get it all day long, but you only had 3 amino acids. Yeah. What's that going to do to build anything? You need all the amino acids. So just take the essentials and you're good to go. You got everything you need to build tissue, because what you need is these amino acids to initiate these processes, and then you're good.
Can you explain the difference between essential amino acids and branched chain amino acids?
Well, branched chain is only 3 amino acids: leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Okay. The essentials, there's 8 of those. Okay. And you need all 8 to do that's why vegetarian diets and vegan diets have challenges. They don't get all. They're low in leucine. Vegetarian and vegan diets are low in the amino acid leucine and one other essential amino acid. So it takes a lot more food even that they have to eat, because it's not protein dense, to get the right amount of protein. So they have to typically supplement it, and they don't get the B vitamins either, because you get B12 from meat.
Right.
That's where it comes from.
What's your opinion on taurine as one of the amino acids. You see
Taurine,
taurine
I'm
and a
doing an
lot of things.
experiment with taurine. It has a tremendous amount of functions that your body uses. I'm really impressed with it. So there's a lot of data come out on taurine, and it's great for brain function. It's really good for your liver. It's a detoxifier for the liver. Bone density, it helps with that. Then on top of it, it helps with telomere, keeping the telomeres from staying, keeps them longer. And it also helps the senescent cells. So it keeps them from turning senescent so quick. Senescent cells are just damaged cells that your body can't utilize that can create problems over time. But if they start to replicate, it can lead to cancer. That's why fasting is very helpful with clearing out senescent cells, or different supplements will help with that too. Ficitins, another supplement, would help with clearing out senescent cells. So, but taurine, I'm doing 5 grams before bed, and I really kind of noticed a difference with my brain functions more. I've been doing it for about 4 months with this dosage. I've researched it, and there's a lot of data on it, so you can look it up. Anybody that's interested, look it up. But it's a very powerful amino acid.
Yeah, I was just about to start on a taurine and also magnesium to try to.
Yeah, magnesium glycinate. That's great for sleep. Magnesium, you need all kinds of magnesium. There's a lot of different types, but glycinate's excellent for sleep. That's why I take that 210 milligrams of that before I go to bed. With the 5 grams of taurine, it's helped my deep sleep cycle because I track all that with my
smartwatch,
and then I got Oura Ring. I got all these wearables. But then I get data, and I can say, oh, okay, I noticed a difference. So I'm just now getting ready to start CBD oil.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
A lot of great information there, Arman. Sorry, but then again, there's one. I think some of this stuff just comes out just fluidly for you, and you're so knowledgeable in it that sometimes that there are also some things I want to make sure there are some important points that aren't missed in that, because you touched on another thing that's often out there in the literature now and focused on quite a bit, and that's the telomeres, where you said it helps with the telomeres, because that's really being traced a lot now to thinking that it can improve and is very important to longevity and to health span within that longevity. So if there's something there that can help, that's great. Now, but the other thing, when you talk about all this supplementation that you've taken and looked at, and you touched upon this earlier, but I want to make sure we get into this before we wrap up. So I'm going to phrase it differently than the type of thing. So why do you eat, Arman? And how do you determine what you're going to eat with all this supplementation that you do?
Well, nutrition's a moving target. Everybody's got an angle on nutrition. So, my nutrition strategy is carb cycling to manage insulin. Mm-hmm. So I want a lot of protein. I want quality fats, because protein and fats are essential. Mm-hmm. Carbohydrates are not essential. There's no such thing as essential carbohydrate, but you do need the essential fatty acids and the essential amino acids. So I focus on that, and I cycle the carbohydrates in as needed to manage my insulin, and also to replenish the muscles and liver as needed. So even with that, I still want to make sure I'm getting all the biggest bang for my buck with the raw materials that my body will need. And even with the meat that we eat today, it's not the same as it was, I don't believe, a long time ago. But I just want to ensure, and you can usually tell when you get a good meal, you feel good, you sleep good, things are good. You start getting too much sugar and too much processed food and other things, your gut starts getting disturbed. You don't feel as good. You get bloated. That's another thing, is eliminating bloating. And so when you mentioned on that note, I recommend probiotics. A lot of moving target on probiotics, though. Now I have my DNA methylation test done. It says I need to take prebiotics with probiotics. So that's a whole nother spectrum. Wow. But I noticed the difference when I switched over to that.
Yeah, one of the questions that came in, is if you're starting a new supplement and you're expecting to get some relief in maybe joint health, so they start on the krill oil, how long should a person expect before they can feel some results from that supplement?
Oh, well, if you kind of want a mega dose at the beginning for like the first 7 to 10 days, that's just my opinion. Again, I'm not giving medical advice on anything, but you'll notice 3 or 4 days into it, things will start to not be so stiff, and it'll start to be less sensitive. And then once it clears up, you're done. You don't need to be taking it anymore. Some people, they want to just keep taking it because they think it's going to come back. Well, it might. Tendinitis is one of the things that can come and go, and so it helps with reducing tendinitis pretty rapidly. And if that's what it is, it's going to clear up, and you're going to feel it. And as soon as it's done, keep going. You don't take any more, but you don't need to. And people don't need to understand that supplementation is to help supplement, not replace what you're doing. Okay, you need food first and foremost. I don't care what it is. And then if you want to dabble with some supplementation because you want to improve performance, you want to think you feel like you can feel better, or that you have a deficiency, then that's where targeted supplementation can actually be a good payoff. But if you're just guessing all day, then it gets kind of expensive, and you're kind of wondering, am I getting anything out of this? It's like exercising and not getting any result. You're doing it probably not in the best manner based on your situation.
That's a whole nother conversation right there. Yeah, well, that's been really good. I mean, it's great information. It's a little bit overwhelming, Armand. I mean, that's why I like. No. I mean, that's why people need to work with you, because you can get them on the right track and save them a lot of money, in the long run, a lot of money, a lot of time, and save them the cost of ill health, because incorrect supplementation means you're not enhancing health, and so therefore, your health can be degrading while you're pumping all this stuff in, right? So, how do we?
If you're not checking the binders and the things that are in the supplementations, that could start to add up in your system too. And, if it's a tablet form, there's things you need to understand about tablets versus capsules, how they break down. And then powders are typically better on a lot of supplements because they absorb pretty rapidly, less residue. So I forgot to mention those things earlier, but that's another whole element to the plan.
Yeah. So how do people reach you? That's the way I want people to know how to get a hold of you in case they want to work with you, because you got this wealth of information that's so valuable. So please let us know.
Yeah, you can look me up on social media like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Also, I have a website, armaneckelbarger.com, that take you to, if you want to learn about lab work and DNA testing. It's educational. There's some videos in there to explain the reasoning behind it. And then if you want to learn more or take a next step for that, you can just schedule a call off that website. We can put that in the show notes for people if you want. And then you can always email me, Arman, ARMAN, at eliteexecmethod.com, ELITEEXECMETHOD.com. That's social media. You can find me there.
Yeah, we've put it into the chat here on Zoom and on Facebook, and they'll go into, as you mentioned, that'll also go into our show notes when we load the replay up on our YouTube site, which is the Wellness Wave Club site on that you have there.
So go ahead, Breck.
No, I was just going to make sure we didn't miss any questions that may have come in from Facebook or from TikTok. Did we cover them all? It looks like there was another one that we covered it. That was a good blend of nutrition and having a healthy supplement and also whole food diet combined.
And then the other one, it'd be interesting how you respond to this one, Armand. It says, and I'm gonna combine this into something I also want you to leave our audience with here as well, but the question is what are some common misconceptions about supplements that you've encountered in your career, and how do you address them? And then I want you to tie that, either part of that or afterwards, as is there a major takeaway that you want the listeners to have today?
Okay. Well, the major misconceptions of supplementation that I've seen is people either just think they got to take all these different things, or they don't need them. And, a lot of cases you may not need it, but I find that hard to believe based on our nutritional system today. So I would disagree with that. But if you really want to know, get some lab work done, just start with your doctor and get some that's covered under insurance, and start with that to see how your liver enzymes are, how your kidney function is, and you check your vitamin D level. To get squeeze as much out as you can out of the doctor with your lab work. And then the thing is, a lot of times they don't give you the corrective protocol on what to do. So you have to kind of look that up on your own or find another medical professional. So to me, people and they're also thinking that one supplement is going to solve a problem. I just find that amazing. You got people out there selling supplements and they're like, oh yeah, this solved all my problems. No.
Yeah, I hear that all the time.
Not one supplement's ever going to do that. It'll help some things, but it's not going to solve all the issues.
Yeah. Now I put all my trust in the government, right? My Cheerios and my Fruit Loops, and they're fortified with vitamins and minerals, right? Isn't that all I need is more Fruit Loops and whatever the Pebbles one is, Cocoa Pebbles.
The Fruit Loops have all the dyes in them. And then, the funny thing is, in Europe, they don't allow the same dyes that are allowed here in the United States. So you hold up a bag of Fruit Loops in the United States, it's all beautiful, bright, yellow, red, pink, everything. Blue, and you hold up one from Europe and it's like the colors washed out. However,
that's what we call Breck the disruptor, because he's a catalyst, and he's going to get us censored here. And if he keeps going, he'll get us canceled.
Go guys. All right. Well,
hey, it's sure been fun having you on, Arman. You are a absolute pleasure to visit with, and have so much knowledge to share with everyone. So appreciate you being here and sharing all your wisdom.
Definitely.
A lot of fun, and hopefully people got some takeaways. I mean, there's benefits to supplementation, and you just need to do what you can to get those benefits and not get the other. So,
True. Well, we'll have you back, Arman, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I think there's enough in this, there's enough in this episode of people to listen to multiple times to benefit from your wisdom. They still haven't tapped your wisdom out, and we definitely would love to have you back, and then dive into supplementation for longevity or something.
Yeah, longevity, that's a really good one too. There's a lot of moving parts on that one. So I'm testing all that out. So I've got a lot of good information on that. So
yeah, well, you look amazing for 125. So I can't even believe how long you've lived. And so, yeah, it's amazing.
That's that Midwestern upbringing that he had, Brett, that's just lasted for a long time in addition to the supplementation. Yeah. If you and Bob had grown up in the Midwest, you'd look that too. You guys keep asking my age. I've hesitated to tell you that I'm 115 myself.
That's great. Hey, I want to thank everyone that's listened to us here on the podcast. Also, those that follow us live on TikTok and Facebook. It's been a pleasure being here with you today. Thanks everyone for being here. And thanks again to Arman for his wisdom and sharing with us. And Dr. Bob, always a pleasure. Tim, you have so much knowledge too. People need to connect with you on that PEMF. Not too many people know very much about that.
That's good stuff. I got to agree. It works. It's good stuff. There's a lot of data on it.
PEMF enhances supplementation, uptake, and efficacy.
Absolutely.
Improves your blood flow, man. It's a good tool for that. And it really
so many benefits for having good circulation, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Until next time.